Sunday school teacher does. I don't know where that came from. Brother, if you have the who, the what, the when, the how, the why, I mean, I would enjoy that. I don't know where that happened. Let's go ahead before I get myself in trouble and offend someone. Romans chapter 12, verse 21, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Now, how are we going to do that? What does that good look like? Go back to Romans chapter 12, verse 9. That's a conclusionary statement, so let's see. He's concluding this good looks like what? Back in verse 9, let love be without dissimulation. Let our love be genuine. Let it be honest. Let it be who we are. Let it not be something on the outside. Let it not be that picture that we, start at 9:35. Oh, turn this on? Okay. Let it not be that picture. I'm feeling like the preacher. I'm feeling like the preacher. I got that same sign. I've never got that sign before. Oh, as long as I'm feeling like the preacher, I'm going to be really short this morning. Let your love be without dissimulation. Let it be honest. Let it be genuine. Avoid that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. What does good look like? Here's another illustration. Good looks like being kindly affectionate one to another. It starts at home. This honest love, it should start right here. If it's hard right here, then it's not genuine. Then it's some fake thing on the outside. And it goes a little bit further. In honor, preferring one another. I'm not waiting for someone to do something so it allows me to start doing something. It starts with me. I want to initiate it. I want to give honor someone. I want to love. I want to lift up. It starts, that's just who I am. And then it rolls into verse 11, not slothful in business. This is that whole picture. Donnie, this is that whole picture of whatever we have to do. Because what you have to do and what I have to do tomorrow, they might be different. But whatever we have to do, we're supposed to do it as unto the Lord. That's what we're called to do. We're not supposed to lose that energy, that excitement, that zeal, that commitment. That's supposed to be who we are. Not slothful in our business, but fervent in our spirit. We use that picture of keeping water on the boil. We're still supposed to be warm. It's supposed to flow from the inside. It's supposed to have an effect on us, Miss Pat. Serving the Lord. Now, we get to verse 12. This is where we're going to spend some time this morning. We kind of leave that picture in the past of staying engaged, of staying energetic, and in doing all of those things, doing it with a heart of love. And now it moves on to this picture here in verse 12, which is a little bit of a change because it knows, Brother Hamilton, Paul knows that what he's asking us to do is not exactly going to be easy. And so he goes from this picture to challenging us to just keep at it, just stay in it. And before we go on, Justin, will you open us in a word of prayer?
For this full power, please bless with Jeremy, both with your spirit, as he preaches from your word through Romans chapter 12, and help us to apply to our lives this upcoming week. And let us do this, we pray in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
Now, some things you got to remember, and we spent some time in the very beginning. We spent a whole Sunday school lesson going through this. But in all this picture, Matt, he's saying, I know this is going to be tough, but keep at it. Okay, now to us, we're like, okay, but you got to remember who he's writing to here. He's writing to the Jewish Christians primarily. They were primarily Jewish, and they had become Christians. Now, there might have been some other Christians now, but primarily this was a group of Jewish Christians who, around 30 A.D. were told, you don't matter, get out of the city. When Claudius came to power and he said, you know what, we take care of everybody inside the cities, so I want all the Jews out. So you get out. We're not taking care of you anymore. Now, okay. Except for remember, you built your whole lifestyle on depending on certain things happening, on purchasing a home, on being in this location. And now you lose it all. And what do you get for it? Zippo. Where are you going to go and how are you going to stay and what is life going to be like? Let your love be genuine. Keep your zeal. Stay hot on the boil. All right, he's writing to some people knowing this is a little bit hard. There's not very many easy days. And then it didn't stay there. It got a little bit worse because by now Nero has been elected. Now you don't get him elected, but in fact elected. I'd like to think like to think no Christians would have voted for Nero, but that means no Christians would vote for some of the things we've had the last 20 years too, so that's probably not true. But once they got him, they weren't happy with him, or maybe they convinced themselves that it wasn't so bad. But here pretty soon, they were going to be candles, and they were going to be fed to the lions, and brother, he's writing to them saying, let your love be genuine. You know, keep at it. I know this isn't easy. I know there's some hard days. I know we like to talk about the mountaintops, but it seems like you're living in some really, really deep valleys. And I'll give you a little bit more. Doug, if you do any history search, you're going to find out that this persecution of the Christians in Rome started roughly around 30 to 39 AD, depending on what you want to consider, how bad it has to be for you to consider it persecution. But it would start roughly around 30 AD, and it would continue until 311 AD. That's 9 or 10 generations who lived with no break. You know, this is us. This is us. This is Americans. We'll have hard times. You know, our tough times. Well, in 2 years, we get to retake the house. It'll be better in 2 years. In 4 years, we get to, I mean, the idea of tough times for us is it'll pass in the morning. No, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be tough for 300 years. There was no change. You want to talk about the dark ages for 300 years. The word Christian meant persecution. And so, you know, that is the group. That's who he's writing this to. And it would be true of us as well. As far as our hope, we are to be joyful. As far as our struggle, we are to be patient. We are to be persistent. And as far as prayer, we're supposed to stay in it. It's written this way. We're rejoicing in our hope. We're patient in our tribulation. And we are continuing instant in prayer. Now, as their evil days tighten their grip around them, as they tighten their grip around us, the first of 3 things right here, which, by the way, Stephanie, I am short because I'm only going to do 2. Plan ahead. We're supposed to be rejoicing in hope. And that usually comes out this way. Miss Pat, have hope. You know, hope, that's that optimistic feeling that things will get better. Tomorrow, there's always tomorrow. It'll be wonderful tomorrow. The sun will come up. It'll be warm. This cannot last forever. Remember, it lasted 300 years. It cannot last forever. You know, that's not what Paul's talking about when he tells us in our hope to be rejoicing. And that matters because sometimes in this power, positive thinking thing, that's what we want to do. Tell me, oh, here we go. Treva, tell me how your life is. It'll get better. Foof. How's that? Woof. How you doing, Donnie? Tomorrow you'll go to work. Tomorrow Treva goes to work. It'll be better. That tends to be how we want to look at it. You know, that's not what Paul's saying. Not at all. And Ms. Pat, this is not something we can mess around with. We need to rejoice in our hope. But our hope is not, it'll be warm tomorrow. Our hope is not that this will end in a year and a half. Our hope is not that, you know, we lock down the Supreme Court and we get control of the Senate and we recapture the House. And we had that. And here we are a few years later, and here's where we are. Here, let's do this. Eric, so I can get going. Titus Chapter 2. Paul would write this, looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing, looking for that blessed hope. There's our word. Here's our hope. Our hope is in the glorious appearing. It's the great God, our Savior, Jesus Christ. It's when he comes back. Okay, now that's Paul writing. But if we go back in Romans, we can go back to Romans chapter 8. In Romans chapter 8, that's a few places before Romans chapter 12. In fact, if you go through the book of Romans, you'll find out a large part, this is exactly what he's trying to do. All he's doing is encouraging us that this world, we're supposed to be this way, and it's always going to be troublesome, but there's coming a day. In fact, he starts in chapter 8, which actually started. You can go back to chapter 6. He does the same thing. But in chapter 8, verse 18, for I reckon that the suffering of this present time, because that's what you're doing, they're suffering now, Nero's on the throne, the suffering of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed. That's that blessed hope. And then, Brother Moore, if you go through this whole passage, he starts talking about, this is the passage that talks about how even creation itself is groaning for the place that we're in. And then he goes on and he'll even talk about how that we're someday going to be freed from the bondage of this corruption that we live in now. That's the hope. And he closes it out when you get down to verse 24, 25. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. So it's nothing that we can see right now. Our hope is not here. If you can see it, let's have hope in. Our hope is not here, for we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for it? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. That's what we're supposed to hope for. We are not supposed to find our rejoicing hope in anything that's around us, anything in this world. We find our joyous hope in what is ahead of us. And that's what Paul is encouraging them to do here. Whatever your circumstances are now, Jewish Christians kicked out of Rome, hated, persecuted, you are supposed to rejoice in your hope. That hope is what is coming. That hope is in that day. Now that sounds good, didn't it? That sounds good. But how do you live that way? Because it sounds really good. It sounds like it should be getting some automatic amens. That sounds like the line that you should start with, because but living that way is a little bit tougher. So I got three thoughts that help us live that way. One, if we're going to start living and rejoicing in the real hope, we have to stop living in false hope. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Okay? Meaning, if I just continually look for something that's the day to get better, tell me, brother, tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow's going to be better. Thank you for telling me that. But tomorrow comes and it's no better. Okay, well, maybe Tuesday will be better. Thank you. Thank you for that. But Tuesday's no better. Pretty soon, I start getting depressed and down. And we have to stop living in, because that's why we're so down. That's why we're so discouraged, so despondent, because all these things that are supposed to be bringing our hope don't. And then when it's supposed to get better, it isn't. And we're disquieted. We're frustrated. This happens personally, individually, and this happens corporately. See, when you talk personally, people might get offended. So you talk corporately. I'm getting smarter. Look at the last 100 years or so. Okay, late 1800s, I can't remember exactly when, I just forgot. 1888, I think, is when Darwin passed away. But with the rise of Darwinianism, what you had the turn of this century is this belief, and you can read it in anything. You read anything from this time. You read news articles from this time. What you have is this belief that man was about to go into his golden age. All of this ugliness was behind us. I mean, even religion is behind us. And now, evolution and growing and things getting better and better, we were going to enter into the 1900s, and the world is just going to be wonderful, and World's Fair, and all the things we were building, and all the taking, didn't need hard labor anymore, because now we had machines to do. And we were just going to be able to enjoy life. We get 14 years into this new century, and we have World War I. Okay, preacher, that's the war to end all wars. You know why we say that? Because it was the worst one? No, because there wasn't supposed to be another one after that. Because in this view of everything going to get better, golden age of man, okay, we messed up, we were stupid. But we're not going to be stupid anymore. We're now going to enter into this new age where everything gets better, and we all love each other, and things are going to be wonderful. And we go 20 years, World War II. And then World War II ends, and we go 50 years of the Cold War, where little kids learn to hide underneath the school desk, which wouldn't help anyway. And everybody's afraid to move or make a statement, because if I make a statement, they might get nervous. And whoever gets nervous first pushes the button. And then what happens? The whole world, poof. Then 50 years of terror. And then we get towards the end of the story, and the Berlin Wall comes down, and everyone has a renewed hope. And communism across Europe has failed. Now, while we're trying to revive it again, because we don't teach history, I don't know. Actually, I do know. I do know. You know why we're trying to revive it again? Because as we live in a more and more godless society, we have to look to someone for life. So where we used to look to government, just allow me opportunity to build life. That's all I want, is equal opportunity. I will be accountable for what I build. Now, we have no God, and so we look to government and say, give me a life. I don't want opportunity, I want life. Government across this world has replaced the word God. Then you don't just give opportunity, you give everything. And if it's not working, then you switch. And it will never work. This utopia that we're trying to get from any government. You can put any list you want out there. I believe some types are better than others. I might be a little biased. But you can try any one of them. They're all doomed to fail. But we get to this, back to the 80s. Preacher had me look it up. It's 89. Wall comes down. And what was the phrase that was thrown around? This is going to be a new world order. Remember how many times in the 90s we heard new world order, new world order. This terror time is gone. This is going to be a new world order. Until 20 years ago, then we began a war on terror. Justin, hope deferred makes the heart sick. We keep running around telling everybody it's going to be better, it's going to be better. This is the hope, this is man's hope, but it's never any better. When is it going to get better? Word of God says it's not getting better. This earth doesn't get better. Man does not have the answers. Our hope is in that day. It is not in anything we see, it is in future. That's what Paul's challenging us to do. Now, we have to quit living in these false hopes. Now, I'll say this too. Corporately, there's a nice big picture. But Doug, personally, it's really easy to do this personally. Let's see. When I was 18, I said, when I get married, life will be better. Then when I was 19, I said, when I leave this job for an occupation, life will be better. And then when I had kids a couple years later, well, just kid first. You have kid. Then you have other kid. Now that makes it kids. I said, life will be better. Somewhere in there, I got married. I hope I said it when I get married. Then quickly it became when I pay off the bills. And now, if I'm not careful, I'll say when I retire. But it doesn't get better. Not corporately, not individually. My hope is not supposed to be in any of those things. He's encouraging us to have hope, to rejoice in that hope. But if we're going to rejoice in that hope, we first have to let go of false hopes. Because if we just stay in that mess, there's just nothing but frustration and failure and challenge and depression. 2, help us along this way. Man, we need to recognize that all of our life is uncertain anyway. Do we get it tomorrow? Well, yes. How do you know? A year ago, no one thought of COVID. And if we do get it, what's it going to be like? Well, I only have 5 more years, and then I'm going to retire, and then I've got, right now I'm making 13% return on my investments, and I should be able to pull out one market crash. What does it look like with a third of that gone in one day? James chapter 4. Paul didn't write this, James. Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Give me the next one. Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. Go ahead and give me 15. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, ye shall live and do this or that. Because, brother, our focus is on his will, not on what we can accomplish. Now, Ms. Pat, we're supposed to have plans. It's biblical for us to make plans. It's smart for us to make plans. We're not supposed to wander around aimlessly. But those plans are not in our control. And our dependence is never supposed to be on our plans or what we can accomplish. We have to realize that this world is just uncertain and temporary and not dependable. You know what that'll help me do? That'll help me keep my focus on something that is dependable. And then I don't know what's around the corner, but you want to talk about dependable? I know the long-term conclusion in my life. Justin, I know the final outcome. I don't know Monday, but I know the end. And that is where the hope. Which brings us to the third thing we can do, and that is rejoice in our final security. Give me Titus 2:13 again. Looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior Jesus Christ. That's where that changes life. You know what? On Wednesday, you said this multiple times. Probably don't even know how many times you said it. It's like when you get nervous, you just say something over and over again. Like, I've never done that. I don't know what you're talking about, but sometimes that happens. So you just I just want to seek him. I just want to seek him. I just want to seek him. It just changes things. You know, when he's what I seek, it's kind of like, I don't see that Treva's mad at me. That's all I see. And that is dependable. We have to learn to live on what we know is true. Here. You know, Brother Maddox, I don't feel comfortable talking about a lot of things, but one of the things that's toughest for me to talk about is heaven. I just don't have a whole, so I find other people who've done it, and they've done it really well. And this is a poem written by Stephen Turner, and it's a small review of some of the things in the poem. But Stephen Turner would go on, and I just took a little snap out because it's long. But it says this: in heaven there will be no policemen. It's often quoted when I go through it. You're going to realize, oh yeah, I've heard that before. There'll be no policemen because there will be no crime. There'll be no soldiers because there will be no war. There'll be no doctors, no surgeons, no nurses. There'll be no sickness. There will be no prison, no wardens, no security guards, no undertakers, no insurance salesmen. There's no risk. What do you need insurance for? No judges. I want to say that's a whole lot of money, but there'll be no money. No watchmakers, no firefighters, no evangelists, no gossip, no columnists, prostitutes, or ambulance drivers. Sin will be no more. There'll be no more deception. Not me deceiving, not me being deceived. Never again will I be tired. Will I be weary? Will I be discouraged? Never will I feel like I failed. No violence, no hatred, no fear. Every person will truly love his brother and sister. Wow. I want to be there already. I get to explore the new world with no floods, no storms, no earthquakes. no hatred, no false judgment. Romans 8 talks about us waiting for the redemption of his children. That is our hope. That is our security. That needs to be where our thought. No more death, no more tears, no more failure, no more pain. We will see him in his beauty like we have never seen him before. And he will not disappoint us. That is our hope. We are to rejoice in that hope. But then Romans 12, rejoicing in hope, but not only rejoicing in hope, but patient in tribulation. Okay, Justin, there's your hope. But it's like sandwiched. It's like an Oreo. Here's your hope. And then we're going to close it with, keep yourself in prayer. But you know what's in the middle? All the bad stuff is in the middle, and we're supposed to be patient in that pain and in that struggle. We're just supposed to keep going on. We will be pressed. We will be crushed. We will be squeezed. We will be troubled. But what we're supposed to do is just keep going. Now, Brother Allen, if our hope, yours and mine, is in this world, when whatever that hope is in gets crushed, we want to quit. When whatever that thing or issue, good thing that it might be, struggles, it'll cut us to the quick. So the only way we're going to keep going on is if our hope is where it's supposed to be. Amen. And even then, it's going to get heavy, so we have to keep ourselves in prayer. See, it's sandwiched right there in the middle. Where it needs to be. If, like Abraham, we wake up in the morning looking for that city whose builder and maker is God that's not here, we will be patient in our tribulation. We will continue. We will hang in there. Because I know I'm in his hand. I'm just going to say this because I might come back and do prayer next week. I'm nervous about doing prayer next week because if I start doing prayer for 1 week, it could easily turn into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So I might. Let me tell you one of the real key benefits of prayer that we don't talk about very often in church, and it's important, is prayer reveals God's will. It really does. Okay, if you and I are supposed to have hope in where we are, and where we are just seems, Justin, I'm telling you, it's crushing, it's pressing, it's causing issues, okay? It's vice on me. Okay, to be in that place and have that hope, there's just something inside of me that needs to know I am right where God wants me to be. And you see, prayer is what helps us do that. If we believe in prayer, if we believe, let us come boldly under the throne of grace, because he's there, and he has the power, and he has the ability, and he wants to give us mercy and grace. If we believe that, okay, and we go to him, and we stay in this place, then guess what it helps us understand? We're right where he wants us to be. It is through prayer that we get that comfort and assurance, which again is sometimes why we struggle so much, because we allow sin to keep us absent from our prayer life. Because I guess this thing that we're stuck in, this sin that we're indwelling in, then we've made it so much better than him. We hold on to that, and then we lose all of our benefits and security and hope, and life is just a mess. But we're in this picture, and I'll give you 2 illustrations. That's probably all the time we're going to have. What does it look like to just continue? And the great picture in Scripture is Job. And somewhere, we might go to Job next when we finish this. And we're not going to do every verse in Job like I would like to, because that would take like 5 years. But we might go to Job when I'm done with this. Who knows? He knows. But when you take a look at Job, he's the great picture. Let's see. Job lost all of his money. And we're like, okay, he lost all his money. No, man, he sacrificed for this. You know the only way you have money in savings? Not to spend it. So you save it, and you save it, and you sacrifice, and you get, and then it's taken away. You're not going to be thinking, what do I do now? Okay, well, Job was there. Job lost all of his property. It was a mess. It was ruined. It was torn apart. Okay, this is his hard labor. Brother Moyer, he worked with his own hands to prepare this ground. Look at all the work he had done that now is no money. What a mess. And these two things together were his total livelihood. This is what he would depend on every day. I'm at this place in life now. And then he lost his loved ones. Probably his motivation for all of that. Now, crushed and pressed, his wife and friends are absolutely, positively no support. In fact, famous lines from his wife: curse God and die. But Job does not. Doug, what does it mean to patiently? He wept. He struggled. He argued. But he endured. And that's a good word. I want to say continued, but you'll see it's crossed out. That's not a good word. Endured would be more like it. He endured. And it leaves us with Job 42:5, which, by the way, for me is the key verse in the book of Job. Job would write in the end, I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear. Job's talking to God. Matt, he's saying, I grew up in church, and I knew all about you, and I lived my life the way I was supposed to because of you, and I tried to honor you. I thought you were everything to me. But now, after going through all of this, now you are not the hearing of my ear anymore. Now I see you like I've never seen you before. Now, the seek, the serve. Now I know you more than ever before in life. And you close that out. God gave him double. God rewarded him. Great picture of what it is to just persevere. I'll give you one more. And that'll take us to the end. William Carey. William Carey is probably the first book I ever gave you. A William Carey biography. It was written by his nephew, I think. Eustace Carey, I think. William Carey, I'm just going to read this. I cut a bunch of stuff out so I could keep myself short. William Carey's story is a great story. You'll see a couple things you've heard multiple times. I may just not have tied it back to William Carey. William Carey, a young minister in the 1700s, was once arguing the case for sending missionaries overseas because it just wasn't done. And think about that. In the church, something that should be done is just not being done. And you're going to see the strong old men of the church fought against it. Something we need to keep in mind sometimes. This needs to be much more important to us sometimes than the way we did it 2 years ago. This is what matters. Anyway, when an older minister said, young man, sit down. You're an enthusiast. When God pleases to convert the heathen, he'll do it without consulting you or me. Sounds like he's honoring God. But that provoked Kerry, and he wasn't one to sit down, so he wrote a book. Here's a title for you. Here's the title of the book. An Inquiry into the Obligations of Christians to Use Means for the Conversion of the Heathen. By means, he means, of course, that we were supposed to pray, we were supposed to go, and we were supposed to proclaim the gospel. But Kerry was not a guy who just talked. So he organized the Missionary Society, and in its first meeting in 1792, when he spoke, he coined a wonderful phrase, which has been repeated multiple times ever since. Expect great things from God. Attempt great things for God. Within a year, he sailed to India, where he served for more than 30 years. William Carey learned Bengali, and he began translating the Bible. Soon after he got there, he contracted malaria. His 5-year-old son Peter died, and his wife became mentally ill. Carey was patient in this tribulation. He just kept going. And in the end, he and those who joined him translated the Bible into India's top 6 language, and he translated part of the Bible into over 209 dialects. William Carey also laid the foundation in India for the abolition of infanticide, of widow burning, and assisted suicide, all which were common practice. He inspired the next generations of missionaries, these three names included, David Livingstone, Adoniram Judson, and Hudson Taylor. I mean, you want to talk about the Mount Rushmore of missionaries in our time. It's these four names. Late in his life, Carey said to, it was his nephew, late in his life, Carey said to his nephew that if anyone should write his biography, this is what he should do. If he gives me credit for being a plodder, he will describe me justly. Anything beyond that will be too much. I can plod. I can persevere in any definite pursuit. To this, I owe everything. Any good achievement in life will depend on you just hanging in, plodding on, keeping the faith. Endure the sorrow and the loss. There are times you can easily give up. Just plod one step in front of the other. But sometimes that's what it means for us just to persevere. Rejoice in our hope and just continue to persevere in the tribulation which is in this life. Now, then it would go to keep ourselves in prayer, which we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but in all points can be tempted. If we believe he's merciful, if we believe he's a friend, if we believe he's able, we would go to him if we believe, unless something stops us. Unless going to him, the first thing that happens is it reveals sin in our life, and we want to hold on to it with everything. It keeps us from so much help. But here's how I want to close. Here you go. My thought. Brother Wayne, here you go. How do I know if my hope is in this world or if my hope is in the next? Well, if my hope was in this world, I would work less. Brother, if my hope was in this world, I want to enjoy my hope. You know, commitment and care. I'm going to do everything that I can in this life. Tell me that's not the time we live in. And I'll tell you, it's even the time, if you pay attention, and you'll hear it a lot inside the congregation. I mean, our focus is here. I got to enjoy things. And then I would sacrifice less. I would give less time, less money. Because I've got to live everything for all that I can. I'm not going to spare any of it. 3 hours grieve a lot more. Because any loss in this life would be irreversible. It would be ultimate. It would be complete. And finally, I would live full of malice. Sounds like a bad word, but that's just really wanting people to get what they got coming to them. I would seek my own justice. I'm going to tell you, right there is a definition of our time. We're looking to satisfy ourselves and enjoy the things. We're holding on and want to give away nothing. We grieve and cry and stay victim over everything in our life. And by golly, I better get treated fairly or you're going to pay. If we're struggling with any of those areas, our hope is not here. It's here. Brother Hank, you close in a word of prayer this morning?
Dear Lord, we thank you, Lord. Thank you for all that you bless us with, Lord. I pray that you just help us to live our lives for you, Lord. Help us to take away the thought of me, Lord, and just help us think of others. Thank you for Brother Jeremy, Lord, and his heart and his passion for the Word of God, Lord. I just thank you for just bringing him before